I shrugged off what she was telling me about Sue. I didn't really, you know, answer that in any way at all. I just kind of remained silent while while she was talking. I told her about the little cat that I'd got basically taken over from Tom, and she was all giggly and happy about that, and looking forward to seeing it when she came up and everything. So, and I just rapidly changed the subject and told her I'd be going to Key Largo in the morning to get some scuba gear down there and to get some orders and just have a look around. And she asked me how far Key Largo was. Well, from Andy's house down to the Keys to Key Largo was roughly about 2 hours. So, Andy had mentioned, if I'd wanted to, go to a few other shops, because basically I was going to Key Largo Dive Centre. I think the guy that owned it at the time was a guy called Rob. I'm not too sure, to be honest. This is going 30 years ago, 30 plus years ago, 31, 32 years ago. Yeah, it was only going to be a 2 hour drive. I'd spend a couple hours down there, have a look around, and then I'd be back again by the evening time. So I thought it was going to be longer, to be honest, but it was only about 2 hours drive once you leave Andy's, get through the traffic, and then hit the highway down to Key Largo. Key Largo was beautiful, absolutely beautiful place. The fresh air was just, was something real. There's something about sea air, you can smell the salt, and it is beautiful. The Keys were just stunning, and it was a cloudless, a cloudless day down there. So we chatted away a little bit more, and then I signed off. I had decided I was going to go to the gun range and just blast away the day, which I did. Fiona was a bit disappointed that I wanted to finish the conversation so quickly. She asked me if she'd said something that had upset me, and I just says no. I just says I had other things planned. Again, I wasn't going to be a simp, I wasn't going to be one of these guys that just dropped everything, for the sake of somebody else. I don't care. I wasn't going to do that. There was no commitment between me and her yet. We were just talking, and I had plans. I wouldn't have cared or had been bothered, if she had made plans and then had said to me, look, Colin, I've got to do something, I'll talk to you later on. I would have said, yeah, fair play, I'll talk to you later. Wouldn't have bothered me at all. But I don't like to be emotionally hijacked and then made to feel guilty that, because I want to go and do something, I have to drop that and just, stay to, just to placate somebody. No, that wasn't me. I'm going to live my life how I was going to live it. So anyway, we signed off. Andy was upstairs. I went up and knocked on his door, and then he just says, yeah, come on in, Cole. And I open the door, and I says, Andy, are you okay? Do you need anything? I said, I'm going to the gun range. Do you want to come to the gun range? I says, I'll get that in before, I go to Key Largo in the morning. And Andy says, no, I've got a bit of business to do. I've got some phone calls to make. And he just looked really sad. He looked really, really sad. And it was strange walking past Tom's bedroom door, because Andy hadn't been in there since Tom died. I don't think Andy really had the heart to go in and move anything or disturb anything. You know what I mean? I always knocked on Tom's door because it was force of habit. I would knock on Tom's door, I would go in and I would touch his little urn, and I would say, good morning, Tom, and then I would say, good night as well, but Andy hadn't been in to do that, and I wasn't going to push him, it wasn't my place to push, for him to go in. Andy would go in, when he was ready to do that, and Andy missed his friend, so, and it was understandable, and Andy was one of those guys, being an ex-forces, ex-military guy. Andy would push his feelings way deep down, and Andy would be sad on his own. Andy would probably cry on his own. Guys do that. They do things, on their own, and it's just, it's just kind of how we are. Andy was a manly man. He wasn't one of these effeminate dudes that showed his feelings and started crying and wailing and gnashing of teeth and pulling of hair and screaming and screeching and getting into the fetal position on the ground and, you know, start throwing little shitty fucking childish tantrums. We weren't like that. Me, Dave, Dick and Andy weren't like that. You know, we just cracked on, and, you know, we just pushed everything down into the pit of our stomach, and we forced ourselves forward, you know, and that's just who we were. But Andy mentioned that, you know, if everything was ready for, you know, Key Largo, I said yes. You know, he would give me a order book. He'd already phoned ahead to the guy that was down there, and reconfirmed that I had been coming down in Andy's place. And he said, yep, no problem at all. Andy was like, oh, Colin's he's an Irish guy, you know, muscly dude, bald hair, tattoos, you know what I mean? And he'll have a little cat with him. He'll have a little cat with him. And the guy was like, what? A cat? Just, the Irish guy sounds like really tough, and, you know, and he's bringing a little cat with him. And Andy was like, yeah, he's bringing a little cat with him. So he says you'll recognise him, you know. And so that apparently they had a little giggle about that, and everything was set. So I phoned the gun range. I didn't need an instructor or anything like that. I ordered an AR-15 and the Glock 17, which were my two favourites. And headed there in about 30 minutes, and I got 400 rounds of each. And I just spent a couple of hours happily popping away, doing speed draws, close target shooting, 5 meters for the Glock, 10 meters, 15 meters, 20 meters, 25 meters for targets, and I had a great time. My groupings were really good. They were getting very, very good. My speed of ejecting magazines, putting fresh magazines in and firing again was getting really good. The same with the AR-15. I was starting to shoot at 250 meters. I'd warm up at 50, make sure the sights were all calibrated and, you know, ready to rock and roll, because even though it's a gun that everybody was using, I always zeroed it in, always spent a couple of shots zeroing it in, and when I was comfortable, I just pop away at my own pace, my own speed. And little did I know that later on in life they would be the two guns of choice for me in the profession that I was to go into later on. So I was getting comfortable with that, even though I could fire. I was comfortable with AKs and 1911s and Taurus, Berettas and all these other types of Magnums, and I preferred the Glock. It was quite a fail-safe weapon, and of course the AR-15 was a really nice platform to shoot. So I spent a few hours down there, smacking away in the range. I was thinking of Dave, just laughing to myself of Dave being all pissed off that I was able to get to the range and shoot, and Dave would be throwing these little tantrums with his little feet stamping on the ground like a little petulant 5-year-old, and oh fucking hell, Cole, fucking hell, and I worried about Dave. I worried about his mental health and stuff like that, but still I had no concept of really what mental health was. To be honest, it wasn't defined as mental health. Back in them days in the 90s, I'd never heard of mental health issues, to be honest. So I was kind of oblivious to that, but I would always check on Dave and ask him, if he was okay, because he would always do the same thing to me. So I made a mental note of when I got back in to drop him a phone call and just check in. And Dave and I were speaking every day, which was good. It made me happy, because we always had a giggle, and we always started the conversation when we finished, and Dave would just rapidly get excited, and he would change, oh fucking hell, Gibson, listen to this, and he would change the conversation to something else, like a little excited, kid, and he would constantly talk over me and push into conversations, because he was like a little kid. He was like that, and just used to laugh. I used to laugh at him, and sometimes he pissed me off because he wouldn't fucking let me speak, but most of the time I just sat back and let him get on with it and stuff, because he didn't really have anybody to talk to down there. He had people that he knew, and then he had one person that he trusted, and that was probably Dick Davis. And he didn't get to see Dick every day, or except if they had a meeting, or the Manta 4 went out and then the Manta 4 came in. They would meet in the morning, obviously, for the Manta 4 to leave, meet the guests, and then greet the Manta 4 and the guests as they came in from the trip. So it was, for me, it was always good to speak to Dave.